Welcome to the BB Show. So today I want to talk about money. So money is this topic that I think for many of us is a very charged up topic. I want to talk to you about how my journey with money has been, where I'm currently at, and what's my big dreamy goal that I'm working towards right now. And a little bit of the mindset behind where I've been with money and what has helped and what hasn't, but particularly what really hasn't worked for me. Hopes that you relate, that you connect. But yeah, let's kind of get started. So really, when it comes to money, I find myself always wanting more. I need more, I want more. In general, that's kind of like my MO. I'm always striving to be better, striving to do better. But I also have to stop to think, when is it enough? Is it ever going to be enough with money? That's kind of like what I'm navigating. By no means is this financial advice. So please just take this as like a conversation that we're having, and I love to hear from you what your thoughts are, what your money journey has been. First of all, I think we can start with like the parts of that I've been ashamed of when it comes to money. I think that one of those parts have been that my parents have supported me for a really long time. When I've been in very tough situations, I've asked for support and they have been able to provide that support. There's always been like this safety net with them in a certain way, and I felt really ashamed to say that for the longest time. They've also supported me for a while, like even up to almost the last time I think was like right before I found out I was pregnant. They were helping me. So that has been number one challenge for me to even say out loud, like, yeah, my parents have helped me, have supported me. And I think it also comes down to like this overspending that I've had since I left college. Being an only child, I think also I was very aware of the money challenges that we've had with my family growing up. And then around high school, my family and I were really well off. I was definitely very privileged to be in that spot. Graduated college, and then I started noticing my relationship with money become this really high and really low. So I've had a lot of money come in when I had like my marketing company, 10K, 15K months, and then a few months later, I wouldn't have enough. I did not have a good relationship with money because it was always like this come and go. It was like, oh my God, it's kind of like an imposter. It fed my imposter syndrome. Like, am I really meant to have this amount of money? Am I really meant to charge this much? And it was a mindset of like feeling like there was never enough. So when money came, I would overspend, and I wanted to live above my means. And I think this adds to, I live in Miami, which is a very like expensive city. Social pressures you have here also add a layer of complexity. And then I work in crypto, which added another layer of complexity as well. But it all comes down to really just having bad money habits, and how I didn't really manage my money very well caused me to feel like there was never enough. Like I felt like there was never enough. And when money came, I wanted to spend, I wanted to live large. And I had this very unhealthy relationship with money. It's kind of like this relationship that you have with someone and you're kind of blaming everyone or him or that person, and you're not really looking at yourself. You're not being really aware. And then at some point I was aware of the bad habits that I had with money. I couldn't do anything to unshackle from these bad habits. There came a point where sometimes I didn't have enough to pay off rent, so I had to call my mom, my dad, and explain to them and say like, hey, I need support. Can you give me 500? Can you give me $1,000? And then it was this stress of like not having enough to pay rent or not having enough to pay the minimum of stuff. But a few months or a few days earlier, I was spending on travel. I was spending on like this very luxurious high ticket items, or just overspending. I did not want to continue to live this way. And this is when I had like a hard conversation with myself. I was like, okay, I'm aware of what's going on, and yet I'm not doing absolutely anything to get better. I think it really hit me 2 years ago when I was just like, I've had enough of feeling this weight over me of like paycheck to paycheck, and I'm like, I'm literally being average and I don't want to be average anymore. And then it came down to like, okay, yes, I want to live a luxurious life. I've always been that type of person. Do I spend a lot of money now to kind of pretend like I'm living this luxurious life, or spend more but yet be racking up debt? I had like 25K in debt. It was exhausting to look at the interest rates, to just never be done paying debt. And like every month I would come in and you pay $125, but then the interest was 110, and it kept on being that way for the longest time. It was a part of me that I did not want to continue, especially when I hit 30s. Like 30s were fastly approaching, and I had this idea of what I wanted my 30s to be like, and I felt like a lot of things were coming into place. Like I had my partner, we were in a really, like, we wanted to be with each other, we wanted to marry each other, yet I was here feeling stressed out because money was a problem. Finally, about a year and a half ago, I said, I'm done with it. I want to do better. I decided to find a stable job. So after being in this entrepreneurial journey and having a lot of highs and lows, I felt like I wanted to grow more professionally, but also financially. And that's where I found my job 1 year ago. I wanted stability, I wanted healthcare, I wanted all these things. And I think it all made sense because I was about to become a mother. That's when I said, no more spending on my credit cards. It's a hard no. I would not spend more on my credit cards. Any debt, I was gonna pay it off. I started budgeting myself. I sat down, I did the numbers. I saw when I did the numbers how at the end of the month I would be negative. Ahead of time I started to think, how can I make more money? Yes, maybe I might have to ask my mom or my partner to like help out with this area, but how can I spend way less? And I still had those habits where I wanted like a little bit of money came in, I spent, and then I would realize, no, really think about what my goals are. And I used to really stuck to that. Thanks to my job, thanks to the hard work of just sticking to your word. And I think this is like a really big part of building up your confidence in yourself, in your finances. I felt like I was working in a sector that was very financial oriented, and I'm like, I can't be somebody preaching something and not doing it. I sat down, did the budgeting. That's when the 25K debt that I had, I no longer had, and I was able to breathe again. There's little like Trojan expenses that come, like the subscriptions, and then Uber Eats was out of control. Amazon was out of control. And even today, now that I'm a mom, I realize too how every little thing I feel like I need to buy. And one really big mindset shift is like, wait until at least one whole day or 2 days to then say, do I really need this, or return it? Because like the other day I was buying all these bottles for the baby just so it could tell me Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday when the bottle was, and I was like, do I really need this? I don't, and I returned it. Being free of debt it's just so good, and it really proves to yourself like, I can do this, and now what's my next goal? Where do I want to go? So right now I'm just finding my groove with money, to be honestly. How I talk about it, allowing myself to be in a more feminine receivership type of vibe, because I was a very yang energy where I was like, okay, I want to travel here, or I want to go to this restaurant, or I want to do this, I'm going to pay for myself. I don't care. Even when I had boyfriends back, or my current like husband, I would be like, I got this, I'm going to pay for it. And it was just a reminder that I can be more relaxed, I can be more in receivership, allow people to purchase things from me and not feel ashamed, not feel like I don't deserve it. I'm allowing my man, I'm allowing other people to take care of me, and that's okay. So I'm totally leaning into this very soft feminine era because I've been on the other side, another spectrum. And by no means, this is no shade to all the women who are breadwinners, because I know a few and I think they're freaking rock stars and think it's all about cycles in life. But since I was on the other extreme, I'm like now in the very soft feminine era. I'm just 100% being okay with wanting to live this very luxurious life that I love to live. Like, we're moving this week and we're having the movers pack because one, it's really stressful with being a mom and work. Another big, really big reframe is money is good. I think that for the longest time I felt that money really caused a lot of breakage in my family. Like, my family actually, we grew up with the restaurants, and to this day is a lot of issues and a lot of fights because of money and a lot of like tension within my family. And I grew up with that narrative. So now this is the narrative, like, the happier you are, the more high vibration you are, the better it is. And I know it can be really challenging when you're going through a tough time, because it's like being like extra positive when you're being like, when you're going through a financial rut. But what helps you get to from that place to this is just really thinking about your history with money and how you grew up, and acknowledging like, okay, I grew up thinking that money is bad, or money is evil, or money causes problems, and now I get to reframe that. I surround myself with people that have a different type of relationship with money, and that really expanded me and helped me a lot in many ways of like seeing what's possible with money and seeing like people that I admire and talking to them, how they talk about money, like being really attentive how you talk about money is so good. Like sometimes I would say like, oh, that's super expensive, and I'm now thinking about not saying things like that because it's all really vibrational and mindset wise. Of course, it's bridging both like the 3D with the spiritual world together, and I think that's like what's worked for me personally. Okay, so what's next? What's my next goal post? So definitely a lot more Bitcoin, a lot more ETH, and a lot more stacks, and saving money. So I work in the crypto space and I fully believe in this field. So for sure I'm double downing on that. Aside of like my husband and I, what we want, like something that I personally have always dreamt of, and I see it very possible in the next year or so, is taking my entire family, like my mom, my dad, maybe a couple cousins and aunts, on a trip, all expenses paid. So that's my next goal that I'm working towards. I feel like it's very tangible. But as I mentioned, I'm still navigating money. I'm still navigating how this is. By no means I'm not an expert. Ultimately, one of the things is just getting serious with yourself. You want to, if you're not in a good place but you want to be good financially, just get serious with yourself. Save more than you spend. Do the budgeting. If your income is $1,000, you better be spending less than $1,000. The debt that we rack up with credit cards is not fun. You don't want to feel this like tension, and you kind of feel like you're living a fake life because you have so much interest and you can't pay that off. So prioritize financial stability as well. So if you are wanting to be, your own entrepreneur, you want to start something that's absolutely amazing, but if you don't have your financials straight, either make more money on the side or find something stability and work. It's gonna pay off. It's gonna pay off for sure. So these are just a little bit of the tips of what I've done for me, of my journey. Yeah, I hope that you relate, that it inspires you in some way. If you loved this episode or if you connected with it, hit the subscribe button, like it, comment, share it with anyone that you feel will relate.